to the SCG. He hasn't had a lot of it, Lewis Jed, but when he goes, he goes. Look at the despairing dive. Full length from Michael Walters, unable to slow him down, and the Swans are doing it well with an 18-point lead at halftime, 7-2-44 to the Dockers 3-8-26. Time to look back at a little bit of the first half as we include David King down on the boundary line. Kingy, Freo started the first quarter particularly well, and they really chopped off a lot of the Sydney kicks out of defence.
Well, they got their mode going, didn't they? And the Sydney Swans were put to the sword in terms of their exiting out of their defensive 50. And time again, in that first 15 minutes, they turn the ball over. Fremantle set up, we know. They get men out the back there. You can just see them dropping off and taking intercept marks. Duffield on that occasion. We've seen Spur do it. We've seen Ibbotson do it. We've seen Johnson do it. And that is their mode. This is how they like to score. 60 of their 90 points a week come from intercepting. They kicked the first 3 goals in that fashion, but then it all fell apart from there. Ruzi, what have you seen here?
In the second quarter, because it looked like the Swans and Freo in reverse. And we saw the exits there of Freo really struggling. You can see back here, the Swans have now dropped a number back. Very similar in time in terms of their setup. You got a lot of numbers around the ball. And it was this time it was Freo that really struggled to get out. Once again, look at the top of the screen. You got 2 Swans back there. Almost identical. So we saw Freo in the first 10 minutes of the first quarter dominate with their real defensive structure. We saw in the second quarter the Swans turned that around, Jace, and they did a very similar thing to Freo, what was done to them in the first quarter.
I think one of the other things that's really haunted Freo when you have a look at them, they've had 11 scoring shots to 9. Just 9 for Sydney. They've been very accurate, but Freo have missed some very, very kickable goals.
Yeah, well, we saw the other night. I mean, goal kicking is huge on Friday night. I mean, West Coast eventually got over one, but Main's one of the most reliable kicks in that Fremantle team. So when he starts missing, and Jace, you would know. I mean, once a team member starts missing, it just becomes endemic throughout your whole group. And yeah, 3-8, it could easily be a different score on the scoreboard. But I guess in general play, it's been pretty even. So the difference has been the Swans have taken their chances and the Dockers haven't. 13
possessions to Mike Pike. I've liked his game. In fact, I've liked his year. Yep. He's really taken a massive step forward in 2013. He's also helped himself to a goal. But have a look at some of the marks that he's claimed. He's #1 in contested marks in the AFL and #5 for hit-outs to advantage. So he's doing a lot right.
Well, what a combination for a ruckman. I mean, this is a guy that 4 or 5 years ago wasn't even playing the game of football. And for him now to be #1 in the AFL for contested marks, #5 hit-outs to advantage as a ruckman. I mean, it's a huge weapon now for the Sydney Swans. His ability to keep his eye on the football, we're seeing here over and over again. His ability, this is tonight, just going back with the fly of the ball. He just keeps his eye on the ball. He's so courageous. I mean, he's used to a combative game playing rugby union, so the physical contact doesn't worry him at all. And now, eyes on the ball, Jace, and with the rules the way they are, if he marks it like that, it's very hard to stop.
Let's go back down to David King. Kingy, big decision for the Dockers and what they do with Ryan Crowley, because the bloke he was assigned to in the first half was very good.
Oh, Dan Hanbury, he was fantastic, wasn't he? He handled the situation really well. I think he assumed straight away that he wasn't going to get a lot of possession, a lot of ball. So he said, well, what I've got to do is I've got to make them count. I've got to get in really scoring positions. He kicked 4 goals in a half of football, and he just set the game alight. Come off the bench and was a bit lucky with one of them, but goals like that, long range, when the opposition are missing time and time again, to go forward and just drive a stake right through the heart, that's exactly what he did in that half. I wouldn't be surprised if they take a different tack now, maybe try and attack off Dan Hanbury in that second half, because they just need to get some scoreboard pressure going for themselves, the Fremantle Dockers. But this bloke, he's a star.
Yeah, you can see the raw emotion, Ruzi, and that I think that's a twofold thing. One, knowing he's in for a tough night because he's got Ryan Crowley, but 2, the fact that he's busted him open and he's made the most of his opportunities.
Yeah, I thought it was a really smart game by Dan Hanbury. He ran through the stoppages. Probably not as smart on Crowley, because Crowley let Dan Hanbury get goal side a number of times. It'll be interesting to see whether Crowley goes to him at this first start of the game, or whether they'll release him.
It looks like Crowley's going to O'Keefe.
Yeah, it looks like they've changed it. And wouldn't be too often that Ryan Crowley gets beaten in a half of football so convincingly like he's done against Dan Hanbury. So Dan Hanbury has proved himself to be, once again, a very, very good player, as he did in the grand final last year.
Sydney by 18 points as we start this second half. Clark tries to break free. Goods does. Malcheski. They finished the first half fantastic style. Sydney Swans, they kicked the last 6 goals of the game heading into half-time after Fremantle opened up with the first 2 goals of the game. So it's over to you, Freo. What have you got next?
And it looks like Ibbotson is the man that's gone to Hanbury to stall. He just drops off now and goes back as a loose in defence.
Mumford, Hanbury, Kennedy, Clark cut it off.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to roll off him, which will be interesting. Whether another midfielder, because you're right, Ibbotson's now coming up onto Parker. Hanbury slid out of that stoppage, so it's a bit of cat and mouse going on. He's dragging Barlow out. Clancy Pearce is going back, and Ibbotson looks like he's going to fill the hole as a loose man back.
What they are desperate to do, Freo, is get the extra man behind the footy.
Yep.
Daniel Pearce to Clancy Pearce. Worked okay. Spur found some space. Hanneth can't mark. Five can crumb, but there's no one there to go to. Had to go back and wait.
Clever.
Now the cavalry arrives. Duffield, Walters from 50. Should be cut off by Rampy.
And time again we see the Sydney Swans, and this is where it's really poor from the Dockers. I would be suspecting that the Dockers coaches would have showed the players all week that you can't bomb it into the forward 50 because you'll see Richard sliding off, Rampy sliding off. This is the money ball kick here.
Barlow to 5, who's up. One grab, Richard steals it from him. Goods. McVeigh playing with some confidence now.
They had an opportunity to punish the Adam Goods kick there, and they've let him off the hook. And they just haven't got the mix right at the moment, Freo. They're getting sucked up the ground, and then when they do go forward, they've got no one to kick to.
Absolutely right. Their forwards just aren't working hard enough to get back in. The Swans defenders are working a lot harder to defend the back 50. The Freo forwards aren't getting back in to help.
Tommy Walsh was quick in. He knew the Pike had the reach and the size on Dawson. First game of the season for Tommy Walsh, back in to the side this week after 3 games in his first season with the Swans last year. And Bird the sub and Mzungo the sub for their respective teams, not used yet. So still a wild card to play. Spur back to Johnson. Runs full back again, not a lot to kick to.
Nothing, in fact. It's 2-on-1.
Now Chesky, he's one of the 2. And clever kick. Short, holds possession. Parker, spear. Mumford. Barlow steals. Mundy. And now there's space to run. Sydney Swans have got players back. Fife will run into Sydney Swans players. Has to go back. Has to wait. Ibbotson comes.
But again, still nobody has got back, as Rizzi was saying. There's got to be players prepared to push forward quicker. Otherwise, it's just not going to work for Freo.
Well, plus the guy receiving our defence, Chase, is continually playing on. You've got to be aware that you've got no forwards in front of you, so it's pointless playing on.
This is the kick. Duffield sidestep, saw it was Mumford, the big man. Main up, almost marked at his own man. Fife took it from him in the air.
Yeah, they're just really messy inside forward 50. That should have been in the back. Just really messy. Their entries inside forward 50, very poor at the moment.
I think they need to look at McFarlane at full forward. There's really no one with any presence down there at the moment outside of Fife.
He's done it before, Kingy. Luke McFarlane's gone forward and kicked goals for them.
Richards wrapped up. Mundy can't break free. Once again, got 20 players in a phone box here trying to work it out. Walters, that'll be a mark. And almost Reed and almost Mumford.
And now they're starting to get panicky, Kingy. We see Walters there, one of the best decision makers and ball users, just bombing one up. We saw Fife before half-time having a shot at goal, missed by 20 metres. So there's a lot of panic in the Dockers camp at the moment.
Hanbury tight ropes the boundary line, can't quite. Coming off a 4-goal first half, 3 of them in the second term, and the Swans kicked 6 goals in a row. Slowly strangling Fremantle at their own game. Sydney. Front spot Pike. Almost stolen Crowley. Jack. Hunted down by Morton and Ibbotson. Good collision. Legal collision. No. Too high. Morton.
Possession number 7 for Mitch Morton. Hasn't had a lot of it, but he's looked dangerous.
Johnson elected not to mark, thumped it to the boundary, ball in, and the Swans, we've said a few times, won't mind a ball in forward pocket.
Yeah, this is where you might see Adam Goods just streaming through the stoppage here. It's Trying to get one on the fly.
Pike and Clark. Mundy stops Goods from running at full pelt into the contest. Duffield.
Yeah, it was good body work there.
Straight over Ballantyne's head.
Yep. Malcheski's already back.
Silvani to Ballantyne. As Paul Roos told you, no one to go too long forward. So they've got a short forward main. Made the ground.
Again, they're just so heavily outnumbered.
Yeah.
So they've got to square it up.
De Boer, and now they've got some numbers on 50 and inside 50. Clancy Pearce up, good hands.
Yeah. It's the next kick.
Yeah, this is the kick, Jace. They just haven't been able to get right at all.
Can they break this run of 6 in a row to the Swans? Barlow, top of the goal square. Good fist ramping. Canterbury about to pounce and go, and again, tight ropes the boundary. Poor kick. It'll be coming back. Sutcliffe. Duffield.
This is the kick here. There's just no tall target with any real presence to mark this ball.
And Kennedy stood in the hole.
I just don't understand, King, why they're persevering with the kick. It's just, you're right, there's absolutely no... They might as well go and hand the ball back into the Sydney Swans and start again, because every single time it's going in, it's just feeding into the Swans' defence.
I'll tell you how bad it's getting. They haven't kicked a goal since the 10-minute mark of the first quarter, the Dockers.
Well, they won't if they keep kicking the ball like that.
No.
Silvani's the only player on the ground at the moment that hasn't taken a mark today. And he's their hit up forward.
So Canterbury to Smith. The half forward, Tommy Walsh got there but spills it. Maybe a little rusty in his first game for the year.
Did well to hold it in, though, because the Dockers had numbers around the contest. So good second effort. O'Keefe did very, very well there.
For front spot, but down to 5. No space to use it. Both teams coming in 5 wins and 2 losses. Both teams with similar form lines and similar styles. O'Keefe, Bolton. Touch to play on was the call. Little sidestep jack. Got to kick away McFarlane, and that's perfect for the Dockers. They can run quickly into space. Barlow, Main, had the 2 Pierces, ignored them both. Longer to Subin in a one-on-one. Got it.
Well, he needed to mark it, because if the ball went to ground, there were 2 or 3 Sydney players getting back that would have been first to get to the crumb. So at least what they did was kick to a one-on-one contest. But it just means that it's critical that Freo actually win it and take the mark. Otherwise, it's going to come straight back out.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on, Jace. If they don't mark that ball, the Swans are going to have a 5v2, 5v1. It's happened all the time.
It's effectively a half a game of footy since they've kicked the goal.
He needs to tick this box to cut it back to a 2-kick game. And he ticks it and gives them life.
It was interesting because Grundy was drawn out of the defensive 50. He went to the ball carrier in the middle of the ground instead of going back. They normally go back the other way and defend inside the defensive 50. But Grundy, here he is here, look at him there. Grundy gets drawn out, which brings Malcheski out to Clancy Pearce, and that's one of the few times there's been a one-on-one. Teddy Richards couldn't get back either. So majority of the time, one of those boys has been back inside the defensive 50, and that's a good contested mark. Well, I certainly needed that, the Dockers.
First time for about an hour, a hush falls over the SCG. And the umpire will have to do it all again. Umpires tonight, Brett Rosebery, Matt Stevick, Heath Ryan. Brett Rosebery tosses it in the air. Clark with the flick down. Jack got there. Arms free to Jetta, and he wants to run, even if it's backwards, just to get the motor going. Mrs. McGlynn. Johnson. He's got support. Parts the seas, goes inboard to Fife. And now they've got some space suddenly. Johnson. Missed them all. Richards. He's not the normal delivery man, Michael Johnson. Normally gives it for someone else to deliver, and you can see why. McVeigh, the open side to Smith.
Not sure if Ross Lyon's listening to the coverage that we're giving here, but he's just subbed Silvani out of the game after he
noted that he hadn't taken a mark and was the only player on the field not to have done so. And Mzungu now into the game.
Look at that use of the footage to a lead up in the corridor.
Oh, that was poor by Mundy. Just let Malcheski run off him then.
Morton towards Jack. He slips. And now he's over it. That's pretty much got it out just in time. The umpire was circling. Oh, and he's got it back. Runs to 45. Instant reply.
Well, you look here just in Freo's, we talked a little bit about it in Freo's offensive end. When the ball's going in, you see Kieran Jack Crowe reply. The ball's going in. You can also see not only they're not marking it, Jace, but you mentioned, look at all the Swans players are ringing the 50. So they're going to be the first ones back in. Same thing here, but it's the first genuine one-on-one. But you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Swans players are running back in from the defensive, sorry, the top of the defensive 50.
Savani is off, and on for the Dockers, Mzungu.
That was good by Kieran Jack, just to stay in the contest. The ball was ripped out of his hands. I think it was Mitch Morton that pulled it out because it could have been a free kick. He stayed in the contest, Kieran Jack, and kicked a really nice goal.
Walters, Sutcliffe tried to flick on. Often doesn't work. McGlynn all the way back.
Boy, is that a good kick?
Malcheski, a spear cut off by De Boer. Walters. So they've used their sub. Tendai Mzungu, a late inclusion. Hayden Crozier couldn't take his place in the 22. To Subin. He tunnelled Richards there. Wasn't a lot in it.
I don't understand why he's all of a sudden become the focal point. Why would
Subin versus Teddy Richards,
Richards? You can't win that one.
Yeah, they're starting to spread them out now, the Swans.
Goods, quick back, Everett. Mumford's up forward. Up. 1-2. Back into the team this week.
Oh, the umpire's taken a spill. He has face planted but got straight back up. Well done. And that's the difference of the two ends. You've got Tools down Sydney's forward end who are getting one-on-one options. Then you go to the other end and it's a mid-size against a key defender that you just can't win.
He's been out for a while. Groin problem. And he was out late after the Anzac Day game and copped a fine. This is a big kick. Oh, helicopter. Off hands. Almost Reed. Walsh jumps on it. They jump on him. Is that a genuine attempt to get rid of it? Umpire said it was okay. Play it on, and that's deliberately rushed, but with all those players around, it's allowed.
Yeah, you're right, Josh. The difference is that the Swans just look more dangerous because they've got some tools that, if they don't catch it, they do bring it to ground. Whereas at the other end, the Dockers have got nothing in the air and nothing at ground level because their forwards are pushing up and not getting back inside their forward 50.
It's a horrible kick in. Didn't go the required distance, and then they had nowhere to go, the Dockers, so they're really struggling at the moment. And yet the funny thing is they're not out of the contest on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Here's to Subin. Not a lot to go to forward. He's got Main in a one-on-one.
Yep,
puts it in front of Main.
Rampy pushing back to 1-0. You've got 2 versus 1 again.
So Grundy got there first with a little help from Rampy, and now McVeigh.
Well, it's not just the 2v1 there. Then Sydney pushed 2 or 3 others back to bring the ball out. So you start asking the question, okay, where are all the Fremantle players? They're just in a muddle in the middle of the ground, not working hard enough either way, up or back.
The work rate of the Dockers forwards poor. You're absolutely right.
Hanbury thumped away by Sutcliffe. This is the biggest lead of the game to either team. 19 points the margin at the moment. Fremantle led earlier tonight by 15. David King, the ball just follows him.
It's not about you, Kingy. Stay out of the way, please.
A bit nervous there, Jace.
No one knows whose free kick it is. One of those ruck contests.
So Clark to Pearce. Mundy's on the move this time, and again he's got numbers against him. Forced to knock it down. Tendai Mzungu, the sub. They need his run.
Yeah, they need to fix that up. They've got midfielders as their forward 50 targets in Mundy and Subin, and whether. Yeah, I think you're right. I think they have to roll the dice, Kingy, on a Johnson or
McFarlane.
McFarlane going forward. Someone that can at least take a mark.
No one does any ruck work. O'Keefe missed his foot. Crowley. Main. De Boer. Walters has hardly seen it. De Boer snaps. This is huge. Misses. 4 goals, 9.
And they're the half opportunities they need to make the most of to keep themselves in this contest.
Yeah.
Rampy. Canterbury. Oh. So De Boer bounces it to Mzungu. Can't take possession. McVeigh flicks it back. Teddy Rich's good half volley and nice handoff. Grundy heads to the opposite pocket. Smith could have gone. Still got Jetta. Valentine shuts him down.
I think Walters has hurt himself here, boys. At centre-half forward, he's got a lower left leg issue coming from the ground.
Limping heavily, Kingy. Good call.
And they've already used their sub, so they've jumped and maybe jumped too early.
Jeez, he's struggling to get off the ground. He's in massive trouble, yeah.
Well, that's disastrous news. He's kicked 4 goals and 4 goals the last 2 games.
It's a big loss for them.
That forces their hand now, doesn't it? They need to make a change forward now because he's their spark player. Now it must require some action.
They've got so many out. Pavlich, Griffin, Hill, Sandlands, Bradley.
Particularly at the moment, though, if you've got a McFarlane who's playing on Morton, you can put a mid-size on Morton and throw McFarlane forward. You don't need to keep him down back.
Kennedy. Kick half smothered, and they need some half chances taken. Mzungu to Main. Now it opens up. This is a big kick. Short pass instead of a long bomb. Could have gone for it. Sutcliffe sees it thumped away.
And there's a good spoil by Lewis Jetta.
Let's have a look at Walters here. Oh, yeah, you can just see a roll of the ankle.
That's nasty.
Malcheski a floater wide. Hanbury and Crowley.
Gee, Crowley didn't even go for that ball there. That was just really poor. He's just having a bad night. Well, he's been a terrific player, current best and fairest winner, so he might be due for an off night, Jace, but he's not having a great night tonight.
Ben McGlynn. Somehow, Mitch Morton in some space. Mzungu and Kennedy both go the fist. Barlow. Oh, that's ball. He just dumped it.
Just got to have to give the quick hands there. But good pressure, good tackling.
Now it looks like Zach Clark's going to be one that's going to push forward, although he doesn't go deep enough. So you've got Richards and Grundy back on Main at the moment. Now Clark starts to push back.
So the twist of the ankle there. The reason Walters is off. Hanbury to Jetta. Mumford crunched by Dawson.
Even at ground level, it's a good example there. At least the Swans are there to make the tackle, whereas at the other end, the Dockers forwards aren't getting back inside, so they're getting outnumbered and they're not getting back inside to help, whereas the Swans are at least prepared to push up and back and get inside their forward 50 to help their key forwards when the ball gets to ground level.
Mzungu, kick and hope. Johnson made it okay. Missed Fife, but he finds Pearce. Main, back to Daniel Pearce. He's got Mundy on the move. Malcheski's waiting back.
Next kick's the one.
Yeah.
And the next 2 kicks, in fact. How are they going to get it inside 50? Well, Barlow's pushed forward. He's got McGlynn as an opponent. Would be a good match-up in the air.
Sits it up in hope. Clark's down there, 3 against him.
And no crummers.
Tackle was too high.
So you're watching this unfold in the coach's box. I mean, Ross Lyon's obviously not sitting idle while this is going on, but someone's not getting the message.
No, they're getting the message and not actually doing it. So there's no question that the Dockers coaching staff will be identifying at the moment that the Swans are outnumbering them in their defensive 50. So the forwards, it's okay the forwards having push up, which is really important to block space, but you've got to have forwards that can run back inside your forward 50. And what the Swans are doing a lot better now than the Dockers is spreading the ball around.
Mundy gets in the hole. Danger period here. 5 minutes to 3/4 time. There's only 3 kicks in this.
Yeah, Teddy Rich is back, Dwayno. It's a broken record, but that's why he's going to go sideways. So it's good work by the Swans. Really discipline their defence. They're not prepared to give that space over the back to the Dockers.
People sitting at home, Roos, you'd say, well, why don't they just go man on man? I guess from a Dockers perspective, you look at the scoreboard, you say it's only 17 points. It's only 3 goals, and we've actually had more scoring shots. So it's not really per se the style. It's more about our execution.
Absolutely.
Is that what they'd be saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely, because they're stopping down the other end. The Swans have only had 11 scoring shots. We see John Longmire not happy there with the 50, but the Swans have only had 11 scoring shots, so it's working as a defensive mechanism, but at the moment they're just not pushing forward.
Valentine crashes it, Subin crumbs it. He's had a couple of snaps tonight, misses again.
They can't buy one.
No.
And you know, this game would be line ball if they just kicked a couple of the simple opportunities that have presented themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So at least they are creating some scoring opportunities, I guess.
Now, Walters has been taken to the rooms, which is only about 3 kilometres from the stadium. So that's got to be addressed. That is an issue. It is seriously 500 metres from where we are right now.
And no cart to take them there as well. It's not as if you can put them on a cart and get them there unless you go through Paddington.
Yep.
McGlynn. Quick give. Jack to Hanbury. Caught by Clancy Pearce. Ball up. Only 16 points the margin.
Yeah, it knocked him around a little bit. It was a good little bump there. We don't see the bump too often. That was executed well. And then he followed up with the tackle. Knocks him to ground because he hit him,
just nice
hit
and
him in the
fair.
head.
Didn't give away a free kick.
5. Subin's the man again. Full forward. Richards, Subin. Half held each other. Dockers get a ball in pocket.
One thing we do know is they won't win if they're kicking it over the head of Nick Subin, expecting him to push back on Ted Richards and make something out of nothing.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, one goal back to a 10-point lead. So your call's right, Jason. And that's the reason why they won't change this forwards pushing up, because at the moment they're stopping the Swans from scoring and they're keeping the game close. The danger is if you keep all your forwards back inside 50, it opens up for the other team, and suddenly, instead of being 16 points behind, you're 30 points behind.
O'Keefe kicks it clear. Good attack, Tommy Walsh. Maybe illegally took Spur out. Could well have been a free to Spur. He's hurt. Johnson handballs back inside 50. Mumford caught. Crazy scramble. That's a free. Just Parker's ball.
This is where the Swans now, just to slow the game down, just chip it around.
Blood rule.
I know I said it earlier in the game that this guy is a little bit Glenn Archer like Lee Spur in his attack on the ball. He's just fearless the way he used his body. I mean, look at this. This is probably one of the bravest acts we've seen this season, just to put his body on the line for the common cause. And he's one that might even be a wild card up forward in the last quarter.
Well, I reckon if Glenn Archer was sitting at home watching, he might have just nodded in approval when he saw that sort of contest there.
.23 minutes gone, third term. Green will start to rise to the top here in the next couple of weeks of this competition. Essentially a third of the year now over. This is a huge game. This is 5th and 6th on the AFL ladder. The winner of this into the top 4 tonight. Strange kick.
Yeah, it was.
Plenty of time left in this. 1/4 and 3 minutes. Main back inside 50. Crumbs big here. Barlow, can he pounce on it? Forward pocket. Run down by Rampy. And run down legally. Ball in.
Yeah, that's one of those they've sort of been playing in the back too, so probably got away with one there, Rampy.
Again, 20 players around this ball in. Hannah makes it a 2-up situation. McVeigh feeds it back. Richards again works the goal line. Johnson should get this. We waited for it.
Yes.
Didn't attack it.
It was a floater, and he was worried about reading the ball as it came in, and he had to attack it because as soon as it bounced, it allowed Sydney to get there and make a stoppage of it, as we see Lee Spur just heading to the rooms.
So Silvani's subbed out. Walters off injured, and Lee Spur to the rooms injured as well.
Might need stitches or something.
So again, it's a 500-metre odd walk just to get into the room, so a stitch can be put in because you're not allowed to do it in full view on the bench. It's an AFL rule. We're down to 2.5 minutes to 3/4 time.
A little bit of patchwork already done to the eye of Nick Subin.
Yep.
Bit of Vasso over the top.
Zach Clark tries the flick down. Parker steals it. Jack. Tommy Walsh. Zach Dawson. Fist.
Yeah, it's just a fascinating contest. It could swing on a goal, on a late goal here. It was a really big swing in a reasonably low-scoring game.
Well, it's 4 scoring shots to 2 in favour of the Dockers this quarter.
Down to 5 again.
But it's 1 goal apiece.
And there's Malcheski back.
Free man to Grundy. Malcheski back to Rampy. to Richards, and they'll want to run this open side. The goal now would hurt big time.
Is that Duffield left Hanbury? That was really, really not smart by Duffield.
Hanbury looks inboard. He's got goods. Kick need to be better. Mzungu makes the contest. Jenner, they want him to get and go. To Hanbury. To Goods. Mzungu tracks him. Gets the kick away cleverly. Clancy Pearce. A goal either way here for momentum at three-quarter time could be massive. It's a 16-point ball game. The Dockers could get it back to 10. Ibbotson to the open side to Dawson, who can get and go if he wants. Does to De Boer. Short to Mundy.
No one deep. He's got to kick the goal.
Has to kick the goal. Goes for it long. It's all about the bounce. And it bounces the wrong side. Sutcliffe. That was a big kick.
Again, a scoring opportunity that goes to waste.
They've kicked one goal from their last 30 inside 50s, Fremantle, since the first 15 minutes of the first term. One goal, 8 in fact. The Swans have had 30 inside 50s for 5 goals, 3 in that time. So they're getting their opportunities, but at some point they need to find a better target or a better option and deep at full forward.
But for all Sydney's dominance, they should be 5 or 6 up as well. Barlow. This could be a 9-point game heading in at three-quarter time. Puts it back to the pocket. Ballantyne to make it a 9-point game.
Gee, this would be big, wouldn't it? And that's unexpected. To have Hayden Ballantyne have to mark over the top of an opponent. This time it was Malcheski had the run at. And I think a few words exchanged maybe between Everett and Malcheski there while he's going back to have the shot. Ballantyne. This is the opportunity they've got to take. Gets him in right into the contest. Puts a bit of pressure back on Sydney if he can kick it.
To the Blues. They'll be used to that. Gets them everywhere in Australia. That's a spear, and it's game on.
Yeah, I think we're seeing today too is John Longmore's not happy.
Not happy.
He's not happy. I mean, we're seeing good mark here. And then, I mean, Ballantyne's not going to mark too many of these, let's be honest. But we're seeing obviously the absence of Pavlitz and Sandlin having a big impact because there's no targets. Really good mark by Ballantyne, but it's been hard work for the Dockers to be able to score and be able to mark inside forward 50 from the second quarter onwards.
You just get the feeling there could be a twist in this tale yet. 9 points the margin. Seconds left to three-quarter time. And last week the Dockers seemingly had thrown a game away and then stole it back again. Subin to his own advantage, dying seconds. They won't get a shot away. But it's a pensive crowd here suddenly at the SCG. They've watched their men dominate, and yet they're only 9 points up at the last change. 8-3-51 plays 5-12-42. Swans by 9. Welcome back to the SCG three-quarter time. Sydney by 9, and the story so far, it was all Fremantle at the start of the game. Fife back into the 22 and back in the firing line. Ballantyne was hot. Morton not paid a controversial one. Fremantle led by 15 points early in the game, and then the Sydney comeback began, led by Dan Hanbury. 3 goals in the second term, 4 goals to half-time, and it was an 18-point margin to Sydney at half-time. But Fremantle's third term was tough. They hung in against the odds, started losing players. They used their sub, and then Walters had to come off with an ankle injury. But a Ballantyne goal on the siren cuts the margin to just 9 points. 5-12-42 Fremantle, Sydney 8-3-51. David King.
Well, last week we saw the great man Ross Lyon orchestrate some magic on that whiteboard of his after spending 5 minutes in the dugout. What's he got for us tonight? I've got no doubt they need a wild card, and he's just the man to provide one this last term. Forward of centre is the problem. Let's have a look at who's missing, and this is why they're struggling to score. I mean, Pavlitz is their main man down there. He's been the club's leading goal kicker for a number of years. Bradley, Hill the spark, and obviously a whole host of talent there. You can see the Swans are also missing a few. But the big problem for Fremantle is forward of centre. The problem doesn't get any easier. with the little man Michael Walters no longer part of the lineup at the moment. He left the ground halfway through that third term. He's kicked 19 goals for the year. He's the club's leading goal kicker in 2013. Let's have a look at their second and third quarters. They went inside 50 29 times, 29 kicked entries in, so targeted entries for a return of 2 goals, 5. 15 direct turnovers, which just gifted the Swans counter-attacking opportunities. If they can correct this, Fremantle, they win this game. It's right in the balance. They need someone to stand up. Still feel like they need a wild card. Could it be that man there, number 1, Hayden Ballantyne? Can he do it again for the Fremantle Dockers?
Well, they seem to be persisting with the same sort of lineup. Jack Hanneth is going to push forward as the tall forward, and Nat 5 is the other one going forward. Then you've got Ballantyne, you've got Subin, you've got Main, and you've got De Boer.
Well, that graphic told the story, wasn't it? I mean, every time they go in, the Swans are outnumbering in their forward 50 and making it really hard for the Dockers to score.
Crowley with the first clearance. 9-point game. Fife had a piece of it, couldn't bring it down. Ballantyne sharks it, could have got a legging free, just gets it away. Fife grabs the top of the square, stripped of his jumper almost. No prior. Umpires have put the whistle away early.
Yeah, it looked for all the world like Ballantyne had been legged.
Absolutely, and Bird's been used as the sub, so he is now on. Hanbury marks at half-back.
Yeah, Mitch Morton is the man that has been subbed out for the Swans, and that was an opportunity. First there was the marking attempt that Fife probably would swallow 9 times out of 10. Then no free kick to Ballantyne. If they could have kicked the first goal, boy, would that put the Swans under pressure.
Reed, so steadying mark.
Gee, wouldn't you like to see a bit more of that?
Yeah.
Looks so good when he just attacks.
When he runs and jumps, that's his game. When it's sit on top of the head, makes it hard for him. That's not his game.
Johnson a smother. Now out of play is probably his best option here. Sees Subin, and not a lot to go to. The cavalry arrives just in time, but it rolls out of play, and we'll get a ball in.
He absolutely missed it.
Now, does he get legged? Oh, absolutely does. He slides down. That should have been a free kick to Hayden Ballantyne.
Hometown decision that. McVeigh wobbles one to half forward. Johnson gets there. McFarlane wants to run to the open side. Mzungu. Good half volley. Jetta comes at him. A couple of backward steps. Main the flick down. So Clancy Pearce was ready for a Bird. Fresh man on. Hanbury.
It's just their work rate, the Swans. They just seem to be...
Kennedy to McLean. Over the back and get and go. Run in. Open goal. Sparkling football, Sydney.
I'll tell you, 2 things worried me about that passage of play. Mzungu's little left foot around the corner kick was very, very laconic. And then the little flick inside, the tap inside from Main again, it wasn't really to the advantage of a teammate as we see Jared McVeigh coming off and limping. That's not a great sign for Sydney, but they had that ball under control, rebounding from halfback. There's the kick. That's a strange kick. And that's an even stranger tap when you've only got 1 man inside there and you could see 3 Sydney players. And then it was just a quick rebound goal.
Big news down here on the bench. Jared McVeigh's just made his way to the physios. A left knee issue in that last ball at half-back that he won back for the Sydney Swans has clamped that knee. More to follow shortly.
This one's not over yet. It's a war of attrition. Mzungu to Barlow. Both teams losing players left, right and centre. Fife up. Ballantyne looks lively. Hands it up to Boer. Couldn't break free. Barlow dragged down by Jack.
Well, McVeigh's had 26 disposals off that halfback flank. I mean, really, really creative. And Mitch Morton's just come off at 3/4 time. The sub's been activated. So it'll be interesting to see if McVeigh gets back on the ground.
Umpire watching and waiting for this to come out. O'Keefe, Hanbury flicks it over to Kennedy. The Swans have got their run back. McLean couldn't get there in time. Bolton tried to flick it to him, dragged down, didn't have it. Bird dives. Barlow. Spur high. No one really there for Fremantle goods. And how big can a free kick be? They don't get the legging free and have a shot at goal from 10 out. Fremantle. Sydney take it straight down and score a goal against them. 2-goal swing. Parker short. Kennedy.
Yeah, you're right, Dwayne. But you just sense the work rate of the Swans is just a little bit greater and has been since quarter time.
Gee, that's lazy.
And this sort of stuff, Jace,
loose.
they're just working harder, the Swans, both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively.
Goods into the hole. Good grab that by
Now, this
the
is where they've got to spread really quickly.
Clancy Pearce.
So you
Wants a runner.
Good defence by the Swans, working really hard.
Clark in trouble. Spur. Johnson. There should be space now. They've pulled a few Swans toward them. Mzungu and Barlow. Good punch, Goods.
Good effort. But even that, they've changed direction twice. And it was 2-on-2 out here. Kennedy and Goods against Mzungu and also Barlow.
Yeah, the Swans are just working harder at the moment. You see McVeigh on the bike, you'd think he'd be back on the ground shortly. But they're just working harder all over the ground at the moment, the Swans.
Kennedy, another clearance. Parker gets it on the boot. Good spot to hit. Goal square. No arm slap free. Tommy Walsh thought he deserved it. And McFarlane off on the gallop. Reed tries to cut him down. Does get there, but the kick towards Ballantyne. He's up. Good crash. Main takes off. Open goal square. Ballantyne thinks about it. Goes long. Richards gets back. Misses.
Again, they had options, an opportunity. They didn't convert. It's been the difference all night.
Yeah, forward of centre, their ball use has been very, very poor tonight, the Dockers. Very poor.
I think they have to decide now, given the fact they haven't got a tall target there, to run and carry the ball. If they have that play there, just go all the way to the square.
Bolton gave it to Parker. It wasn't the right option. Johnson steals it back. Clark got his hands free just in time. Mzungu. He's got the short. And a good shot at that. De Boer. Crowley's calling for it in the pocket. That's ignored. They've been bombing it all night. Daniel Pearce, who'll want the left. Gets there. Keeps it in. Just. Barlow. So more methodical build-up this time. But now there's that long bomb. It's a deep entry at least. Crowley caused to go. McGlynn. Stolen by Mzungu too high.
I think, Jace, you mentioned we're in the break. I mean, you keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. It's unlikely that it's going to happen. So they just seem to want to persevere, the Dockers, with that balloon ball going in, and they've just got no one down there to mark it.
Goods. With each passing second, Sydney Swans can smell a top 4 spot tonight. The winner will be top 4 tonight as the cream starts rising to the top with a third of the season done. Bird to half forward. Mumford not quite. Ibbotson steals. Johnson dangerous but okay. Clancy Pearce. 3 kicks in it. He heads wide. Free kick. Main's ball. And a ton of time left in this. To the booze, Subin. There's that high kick. Ball to the back. Bird. Missed Goods. I think it was meant for Everett anyway. Grundy. Jetta. Spur. Good fist. Knocked it down to Main. Rewards Spur. Oh, caught from behind. That's ball. Had Pryor. Play on advantage. Mzungu gets back with Jack. Good contest. Jack kept his feet. Hanbury back to Jack. On the left. Puts it goalward. And he misses.
I think that's a classic example of what's happening in the game there, Jace. Mzungu versus Jack in the air. Jack not only beat him in the air, the ball went to ground and he got back on that ground ball faster than what Mzungu did. It's just a work rate at the moment of the Swans that's about 5 or 10% greater than what the Dockers are working. And that's the difference in the game.
Mundy, terrible. Jenner.
Well, you almost feel like it only takes one more for the City there to break the bank, but I was looking at exactly the same thing, Mzungu and Jack, and you just think, well, hang on a minute, Mzungu's a late inclusion, he gets an opportunity. Started as the sub, should be fresher.
Exactly.
And yet here's a guy that's worked him off the ball in the air and then pounced and had a shot for goal on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Possibly that's why he wasn't in the team before the game, Jace. We don't know that, but
It's accurate. Has it got the distance? It has. And that hurts.
Yeah, that does hurt. It hasn't been a big night for North Channel. 13 possessions and a goal. But critical possessions at crucial times. It was Mundy trying to pinpoint a pass, didn't hit it well. Really didn't give Spur a chance.
Actually kicked the ground there. I mean, all the mid numbers are pretty high for the Swans too. That's again evident work rate. 29 for Jack, 26 McVeigh's been off half back, Goods 26, Hannery 25 with 4 goals. So the mids have just worked harder than what the mids. The highest ball winners, Duffield off half back, Mundy's 20, Barlow's 20, 5-17. So their midfielders just haven't worked hard enough tonight. But the Swans midfielders, we know they're probably the best two-way running midfield group in the competition.
Mumford towards Pike, almost scooped it in. And locks it in. They need 4 goals. Freemantle, and they've only kicked 5 all night.
And they're not going to have Michael Walters. He has not returned to the bench since going to the rooms for treatment just before three-quarter time.
And Kingy, 10 minutes gone, 12 and change to come.
Well, that doesn't help their cause, does it, when you're down a rotation? There'll be some tired players out there.
Well, you just sense, we just sense that they're on top of the ground now, the Swans, and obviously with that
McGlynn free here.
Yeah, free kick.
And this is going to hurt even more. The crowd just realised.
I think he's paid it against Dawson, has he, for running back with the fly of the ball? I thought he was courageous enough to actually make a contest when he was out of position. I guess the umpire's looking at the eyes. Perhaps the eyes weren't on the footy.
Both teams have played pressure cooker football all night. Sydney Swans have simply played it better. 27 points the margin, the biggest margin of the game.
Well, we heard some comments from Jude Bolton prior to the game, just talking about the loss to Hawthorn last week. The players thought that it was an un-Sydney-like performance. They didn't think they worked as hard as they could. Gee, I reckon that's a fair effort from Dawson. He didn't look like he was looking at the players. He was going to where the ball. He actually headbutted the ball.
He went for the mark. Jonathan Brown does that every week.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty tough decision. But anyway, Sydney's at work rate this week as opposed to last week. Chalk and cheese. They've been terrific.
Yeah, look, this could be a little bit of a blowout now. It's danger. The forward efficiency inside 50 is 42 to 50, but the score is 11-4-70 to 5-13. So we've talked about it all night. The inefficiency going forward has been pretty ordinary from Freo. Sydney very accurate in front of goals, made a huge difference.
Fremantle have won 2 of their past 3 here coming in. They would have been confident of getting a lot closer than this. Mazungu rode the bump beautifully. Subin to Pearce to give them hope. Hands it back to Subin. Good tackle, O'Keefe. Pulled him back, didn't ride him forward.
Yeah, again, just great transition. Great defensive transition from the Swans. No easy possessions.
See the problem for Daniel Pearce. He immediately turned on his left foot.
Yeah.
That took him straight into trouble.
And he's over this now and in more trouble.
It's just about the first one they plucked all night.
Yeah.
O'Keefe. Called to go and gone. Now it's got to be ball. Fife wrapped him up.
Had to be.
No choice there, the umpire. He just crept up, Fife.
A little one, though. But
I don't think Ryan O'Keefe heard the play on.
I was going to say, can Fife be that close and a play on anyway? Or is it a 50?
Or was he close to his opponent, who was also
No, his opponent, there's no opponent there.
Well, that's interesting. He just anticipated the play on call and closed in. That's smart to do.
Yeah.
10 minutes left in this final term. Fife to maybe kick the door back open. Nice off the boot. Goal umpire doesn't move, and it's still ajar.
It's actually not a bad ploy if you're behind the player, because they get less time now to dispose of the ball. And if you see him deliberating and you're not required to actually cover anywhere else, if you can just sneak up close behind him, it's not a bad one. We see the decision here goes against Pearce.
Let's just watch where Fife is.
Fife will come from the left of screen. He was running to cover, then he thought, hang on, he's taken too long.
That's got to be 50. Isn't that a 50, though?
It's one of those where you're anticipating the umpire, and rather than pay the 50, calls the play on.
It's a fascinating one because I'm not sure how he can be not be inside the radius and make the tackle.
Well, they widened the exclusion zone over summer. That was a new rule they brought in. Good for the game, though. It's back on. From the ball up. Can they get the clearance? Tackle late on Jack. A ricochet. Mumford couldn't trap it. Goods does. Arms free. Jack feeds it back. Grundy. McVeigh. Intensity's gone up.
Hasn't it?
Barlow threads it through to Pearce. No one's in the square. Puts it up long. Ibbotson forward all of a sudden. And he's got it. No.
Yes,
did he hold it long enough? He did. Plays on. Didn't think he was paid it. And kicks it behind. Bizarre.
There's the game in a nutshell for the Dockers.
Haven't they found a way
to butcher it? To slaughter the football.
Oh, he just didn't realise it had been paid. It was a set shot,
but
25 out.
Why do they roll them along the ground, Jace?
Don't get me started.
Why do they do that?
Don't get me started.
Clark. They haven't given this one in yet. Clancy Pearce, kick smothered. Bolton to Kennedy. Subin slips. Hanbury in a 1-on-2. Johnson almost brought it down with the mark. Spur, McFarlane, Johnson. The crowd on the edge of their seat here all of a sudden. Subin down the middle. Parker's spent. Can't run after him. Spear pass to Fife. Grundy tries to track him down. Got him.
Good tackle. Important tackle too, because if he had turned him round.
Oh, that's over the neck, over the shoulder.
Fife's free.
So he'll kick from 50 again. We just saw him bomb one from 50 in the middle of the ground. We'll get another opportunity here.
As Rampy pushes the ball and says...
Well, he didn't want to give away 50.
He didn't want to go by 50.
Here's the bill.
Here's the ball. Make sure there it is.
9 minutes left.
He got tackled, the ball spilled out, and then it ended up back underneath him. You see, he tries to hand pass it. Well, Rampy half brings it underneath, and then you can see the right arm over the shoulder from Grundy.
For a 14-point margin. We've seen some bizarre finishes in 2013.
Have the ball there, no?
Back after 2 weeks on the sideline, suspended.
He's done it again.
Hits it beautifully. Post.
Beautiful looking kick, wasn't it?
There's a nice kick off the boot. 21 scoring shots for 6 goals. I mean, Ibbetson's the one that kills you, though. You're running into an open goal. You try and dribble along the ground.
McVeigh puts it up long. Duffield about to pounce on this from 3 deep. Pike was waiting back for it as well to Hanbury. And now Bird with the run. McLean sizes up the big sticks. The bounce didn't come back to him. Mazungu corrals him back again. Bird wants a target. Mumford. Good fist, Hannah.
You sense the Ibbotson one would have really put the cat amongst the pigeons, Jace. That's the one that really got away from them. Fife's one, tough one from 55 out. It's a nice kick to hit the post, but the Ibbotson one.
The question now is, they're down a rotation. They've lost Walters after Silvani was subbed out. Have they got the run left, even if they break from some of these stoppages at half back, to carry the ball the length of the ground?
Well, I think the Swans now, and their masters of it, now just to slow the game down a bit, because the only way they're going to get beaten if they open themselves up, which they've done a couple of times with Subin getting up the corridor, the last one to give it to Fife. So it's now just the Swans controlling the game, making sure they keep that number back that they've done really well all night. We're just looking back here, see Malcheski's the one that's going back. Grundy's behind. So they've still got that one extra behind the football.
Yeah, with 8 minutes left, I mean, if you're free, you've nearly got to roll the dice and say, we're not going to allow them the one behind play. So if we kick it forward, it'll be to even numbers.
Well, you've got to try and start to open up the stoppages a little bit as well. Maybe push your half forwards back. Try the 6 forwards, because it really doesn't matter whether you go down by 30 or 19. No. So expect maybe in the next couple of minutes the Dockers forwards will push back inside 50 and try and get some space between the stoppages and the forward line.
When was the last time you saw Josh Kennedy get tackled and not be able to get his hands free to get a hand pass away? Geez, so strong.
Hannah does the ruck work against Pike, down to Parker, caught by Barlow, got rid of it somehow. Spur to Johnson. Important kick this. Tommy Walsh waits under it, got it.
It's a pretty ordinary kick.
Yeah, shocking kick.
I mean, the one thing you've got to do, even if you're not kicking to a teammate, is clear the 50 yards so that it's not a shot for goal, even if it does come
Put
back.
it out in front of your teammate, at least. Whack it out onto the wing.
First game of the season after 3 games in his first year with the Swans last year.
Just the 4 possessions, Dwayne.
Big kick this for the Irishman, the ex-Saint. A few Swans to come back into this lineup. He needs to keep his spot. He can't show the poise there.
Might be a couple of technical issues there. He's kind of struck the kick pretty well, but he's missed by a long way.
And gives them hope still. 19 points the margin. 6 minutes 42 left. Duffield.
Now, see, that kick's strange because they didn't have anyone running to the fat side, and Sydney have got some outriders there already.
Yeah,
so this
Sydney
needs
set
to
up
be,
well here.
That needs to be a 60-metre kick.
Yeah.
Fife the target with Goods. Gee, outmarked one of the best ever there.
How good was that?
Pearce. Barlow back into Mundy. Pearce, and it opens up. Main's forward. He's got a couple to beat. He might need to mark it. Almost back of the pack. Grundy's with him. Keeps his feet ramp. He fell. Main. Oh, boy, there's a big scare. They are back in it big time.
I'll tell you who's made a little bit of a difference up there. Critical of him before is Ibbotson, because what Ibbotson is doing, Jace, is getting back to the fall of the ball. We saw in the first 3 quarters, or the second and third quarter in particular, the forwards went up and didn't get back in and help. Main makes a fantastic contest. You've got Grundy back as a loose, but watch this. And all of a sudden you've got a couple of boys coming. Ibbotson's one of them, so he's got in there and created a contest, Main, and then got it back and kicked the goal. Makes it very interesting.
We just see that goal there snapped by Main. What he would give to have that snap against the Essendon Football Club about 3 weeks ago. The exact same kick. I reckon he's practiced it 100 times since. Well done.
From the ball up, the clearance, and they are on. Crowley inside 50. Not trapped initially. Sutcliffe arm held. Can't break free. And will get a ball up.
It's pressure's risen all of a sudden. They will not go away, the Doggers.
Sydney led by 3 goals against the Cats here a few weeks ago and lost it. They haven't been unbeatable here this year, and they would be a little nervous right now.
What they've got to do is they've got to be disciplined here, not give away free kicks, lock the ball in the attacking 50 zone.
From the flick down, Kennedy, the clearance specialist. Richards turns it over. Johnson, is he within range? No. Subin.
They just find a way to torture.
Clark, chaos ball to full forward. De Boer caught by the arm. Barlow back to Pearce. He's on the left. Good disciplined centering kick. Crowley has to go. Main goes. Clancy Pearce hands to Spur. Duffield goes long towards goal. It looks okay. Crazy finish coming up to this one.
Oh, this is an amazing finish, Ruzi. All of a sudden they're scoring freely, and the difference is they're no different to the half opportunities that they've squandered for the last half of the game, but they're making the most of a couple of opportunities going forward now.
I think the other difference, Chase, is they're getting even numbers. They're actually getting their mids and forwards pushing in. We see here we've got Crum, one of the few crumbs we've had, and then we've got a defender pushing up. Now Duffield would have sat back in the first 3 quarters. He's now pushing up and putting the pressure back on the Swans.
They are rising to the challenge, Freemantle. They're a contender in 2013, and they want to prove it. From the ball up, clearance essential. McLean too high.
Yeah, these are the little things that are going to make a difference. Just now, Benny McLean's just got to take his time, think his way through this ball.
Just pops it, hoping for Bolton. Used his body. Johnson, Clancy Pearce, Daniel Pearce.
Good vision.
And they are away. Barlow.
It's opening up now, isn't it?
Subin to Sutcliffe. No one to go too long. Fife.
Got to run it.
The square's open. He floats it up. Mundy needs to go. Ramp he does.
That's a really poor kick from that Fife. He had to run. He had Hanneth out.
He had Hanneth out to the left. He could have just
chip kick.
That's a little chip kick, and then just wait for the guys to get back inside. You can't kick that ball in. It was always going to be really difficult for, I think it was Mundy to mark it. It's almost impossible. But it's starting to open up a little bit through the corridor for the The Dockers, yeah.
Just starting to bubble. 4 minutes left. 7 points to margin. Hanbury, 4 goals in the opening half. Set them alight. Jetta, just the required 15.
He also slipped and it still fell in his lap.
But that's not a bad little kick either, because at the moment both teams seem to have one off the back. It's either Dawson or McFarlane down one end, and then that just slows the game down like it's done here.
Oh, dangerous handball to Clancy Pearce, but they get away with it. Daniel Pearce has a paddock. He's got a couple of bounces on offer if he wants them.
McGlynn Chase is very, very good.
Yeah.
It's all about this kick.
Benny, you got Sammy Reed's now sitting back. It's
another dumb kick.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Reed puts it back. It's a wobbler. Goods waits for the bounce.
Oh, Ibbotson come off the bench then.
Attacked it well. To Barlow. Back to the hot spot. Good kick. Johnson to make it a 1-point game. It's a helicopter. But it's there. There's a point in it.
I'm not sure how that went through after it came off the boot the way it did. But again, you said it only moments ago, Ruzi. The corridor's become just an open pasture now. It is a free-for-all, and Freo are going there every time. Poor kick from Sam Reed. And Ibbotson, who's had some really important touches in this last term. Look at the corridor and look at the numbers there. So it's Jetta against 2. And Johnson, this is a shank. That's a shank that turns into a reverse banana.
That's gone sideways.
That's a shocker.
Well, it's been a good comeback, but the Swans have just lost a little bit of composure and defensive structure. The corridor's really opened up. They've turned the ball over a couple of times, which has opened up the middle of the ground.
1 point in it. No clearance yet. Fife tunnels it out. Ballantyne a roller inside 50. Grundy overruns it. Malcheski mops up his mess. To Parker. Fife there. Got a fingernail on it. Duffield, he waited. Now he's got it and they've got him too high.
Yeah, those free kicks are going to be really critical. When players have got their head over the ball now, Jace, you just got to almost grab a jumper. You can't afford to go in like that.
To Mundy. A point will level the scores. A goal to put them in front. Goes with the precise kick to Johnson. And this is a massive kick. This could be for the game.
Given the way he kicked his last one, he'll have to start this at the old members stand.
Yeah, there's a curve 90 degrees.
Well, if he centres it and they don't score, they could lose by a point. At least if he has a crack and kicks it behind, they're a chance to draw. To the Blues. Grandstand finish. Gives it a run. It's bending back. It's bending. Behind. Scores level. 2 minutes left.
Good effort. Now we get to see the tactics of Sydney.
Yeah, exactly.
What will they try to do to open the game up from here? They'll want to use possession for basically the entire 2 minutes and just affect the score at the end of it.
A good point, Jace. They don't need to turn. Well, they don't want to turn the ball over.
No.
So it's level at the moment. You got to work your way up the ground. That's a really nice kick.
Bolton.
Good effort by, was that Subin going back?
Pearce stuck his head, no free. Bolton dives in. The seconds continue to roll. We're down to 1:44.
I think it was Sutcliffe. He was very, very good.
Yeah, no, it was really good. Look, just hung in the air a little bit. Looked a good kick off the boot, but it was a really good effort going back with the fly of the ball. These stoppages are absolutely critical now. Sammy Reed's back at one end of the ground, and the Dockers have elected to have their extra at the stoppage. So that's a little bit of a different tactic by both coaches. Reed's back in the defensive 50.
Ibbotson, a good attack, but left it behind. Hanbury wrapped up. We're down to 1 minute and 20. Umpire lets it roll.
You throw the whistle away there.
Gee, it's on, isn't it?
Isn't it? What?
This is exciting. They looked home for all money, the Swans.
Yeah.
Led by over 4 goals from the flick down. Handball wide. You know they want to try and win it. High bomb, half forward. They had it wrapped up. Fife.
Gee, it's a great take.
No prior there. Ball up.
That was really clean hands and needed to be.
Yeah, it did, didn't it?
As he was getting pinballed around.
Now it looks like now Dawson is dropping back. So you got Reed one end.
Barlow, this would be one of the all-time steals if Freemantle can get it from here. Mundy, Ballantyne, dragged down, brilliant tackle.
Great tackle.
Smith wrapped him up. De Boer, Johnson, this is for the lead, might be for the game.
Well, hasn't he turned into a match winner in the last 5 minutes? He pushed forward, kicked a goal, then he got the point that got them level, and now any score might be enough. He should take basically your whole 20 seconds and then just try and get it right to the goal line, and if anything, you just want them to punch it through. He should be taking longer.
Yeah, the runner should be out there.
Until the umpire says that's 20.
But he must score from the 50. Gives it a long ball. It might not have the distance. Reed! That could get them points.
What about that? He can't take him up forward, but he goes down back and takes an incredible hanger. That was the one they had to punch through, the Dockers.
They did,
The Swans should take that. It's a draw. They've kind of lost 2 points, but they won 2 as well. And what an amazing finish.
The only thing we're seeing, both players from both sides, hands on heads, heads bowed. No one knows what to make of it.
The first draw of 2013. They've come from the clouds, Fremantle, to get a piece of it.
Well, someone from a Dockers point of view, that was a terrific mark. Let's give credit to Sam Reid for a start. But someone from the Dockers needed to be down there. The ruckman, because the runner had to get out there and tell exactly what was happening. 20 seconds to go. Yep. So there's no need to worry about counter-attack, because Sydney weren't going to get the ball up the other end of the field, and they just need to. But well done, Sammy Reid.
And well done to the Fremantle Dockers. I mean, that's a really good comeback. I think David King's got one of the stars of the night.
I've got one of the stars, absolutely. Had a great night yourself personally, but what does this do? How does this feel at the moment?
Oh, it's absolutely gutting. We had a 20, whatever it was, point lead, and we just didn't play tempo footy at the end there. They came home strong. We knew that. We just did not play the game out, and yeah, really disappointed. We had the game won there. You know, we should have just held it up and we just rushed it and cost ourselves.
Feels like you've lost this game, even though it's a draw. You feel like you've lost it by the sounds of things.
Oh, no doubt. We had the upper hand. We just didn't play smart footy, and guys just didn't execute under pressure at the end there. And it's, yeah, just absolutely shuddering. So
where'd it go wrong? Could you feel it sliding in the middle of the ground there?
They started getting on top of the middle. They got super players in there, Fife, Mundy, 2 quality players, and they got on top of us when it counted, and we just couldn't stop the momentum, which is critical at that stage. So we'll have a look at it, and at this stage, yeah, I'm not too sure, but it's just really disappointing.
We'll get inside and listen to the coach. I'm sure he's going to have a bit to say.
Look, it was really honest by Dan Hanbury there. I mean, he could feel it during the game. You know, that's where you could sense late in the game that the Swans just didn't hold on to the football and didn't spread it around enough. So it was just fascinating to hear Dan Hanbury. Look, full credit to the Dockers. We felt 15 minutes in, Dwayne, that I felt personally the Swans were running harder, spreading better. And then the game just seemed to open up as I think Daniel Pearce with David King.
He is, Rusey. It's a bit of a hollow feeling, the draw, but it was a fantastic comeback and inspired by yourself.
No, you know, Ross at three-quarter time, we just spoke about putting everything out there and not walking off with any ifs or buts. You know, you take it over a loss, but it's disappointing. A couple of metres separates, you know, a win from a draw. So I'm really proud of the boys. It was, you know, just had a great fight back, but unfortunately not enough.
What's the communication like there with a minute to go as that set shot's coming about from Michael Johnson? Do you know that you need to get that ball over the line and through the points or not?
Oh, I'm pretty sure most players on the field, you know, you look at the clock, 28 minutes, you know, it's around about. So, yeah, so that's probably why Johnny went back and took his time and, yeah, unfortunately just didn't hit it perfectly. And
what about on the goal line? Do the players on the goal line know they have to get that through, or how does it work? Does it just unfold too quickly?
Yeah, again, I'm sure they would. I'm sure, like we had, I couldn't see it. I was standing over on the bench trying to get on, and I'm sure there were players on the line trying to punch it through. So disappointing, but
it is. Well done on the draw. I can't give you the win, but well done and a great comeback.
Thank you.
It depends on how you look at it. Both teams should have won. Fremantle kicked 9-16.
It's 61 inside 50s to 47.
But I think Sydney led by more than 4 goals and should have won.
Yeah, and I think halfway through the last term to where we are now, Freo walk away thinking, well, we got something out of nothing. Because the Swans looked home. Yeah. We saw North Melbourne lose a game at Patterson Stadium that they looked like they had won. And another one's escaped Sydney here, and Fremantle have made a draw out of it.
Second draw ever at the Sydney Cricket Ground. A little piece of history. And we're back to wrap it up shortly. Don't go far. A draw. Can you believe it? 11-4-70 to 9-16-70.